Hey athletes, Coach John Ferry here from Team Whoopers. Very excited to be with you this Friday evening for this week's athlete briefing. So first of all, good luck to everyone racing this weekend. We'll be cheering you on from afar. Have a ton of fun out there. Can't wait to see all the posts, hear all about it. So have a blast. Second, incredibly happy to have us all back here in one spot. We had a ton of fun breaking people up, doing race-specific goals, training-specific goals in the two challenges, but I'm incredibly pleased that we're all back in the same spot. So we're still training. There's still people training on different training calendars right now, which is fine, but we're all back here together. We're going to try to make this work as best as possible, make sure it's applicable to all people. I always like when people ask questions, when we talk about relevant things, they usually have a pretty big crossover effect, even at different kind of race objectives or race styles or race types. So once again, very pleased that we're all back here in the same spot. Spring Run Challenge. You all are going to obviously continue to crush these tough interval workouts we've been doing week after week. Obviously we're in our unload week, but this is what's coming up. And for a half marathon off season, the course of this 4 weeks is really a return to run plan. Coming off of the intensity of training, coming off the intensity of your racing, we're going to kind of take it easy and over a course of 4 weeks, move towards more quality workouts, build a little bit of volume back up. And the big goal is that we all come back together about 6 weeks from now at the top of the Spring Run Challenge, start working on the same goals at the same time. Naturally, there are going to be people who are working on different things. And once again, that's okay. So our current week in review. For a Spring Run Challenge, we're in our unload or our deload week or pullback week, whatever we want to call it here. So the goal is easy pace, start to finish. We're trying to just wind back down, try to get yourself, and this is the most important part, the biggest walk-away goal from this week isn't to accumulate miles or to have great workouts. The biggest goal from this week is to set yourself up for success in the following 4 weeks. So you want to be able to come off of this weekend feeling like you're kind of wound up and ready to shoot away. You're kind of like a compressed spring that's ready to shoot off into that final 4 weeks of the challenge. So make sure you're really honoring the pullback, making sure you're keeping your paces nice and light. So that's what we want. We want you to be coming into week 5 ready to hit hard. Half marathon program. This is race week. So once again, have a blast out there this weekend. If you're not racing, you're out there long running, maybe potentially testing, but big weekend, big celebration. If you're doing nothing at all other than the completed what has in essence been 15 weeks of half marathon training, that is awesome in its own self. As always, make sure to keep going on even as these challenges are wrapping up, new challenges are starting, and get onto the website, check your box, make sure you're chasing that 100% completion percentage. As always, it is the best way to go about making sure you get that change that you're going for, is making sure you're completing the workouts on a timely manner. Go check the box. Saw a couple comments about emails on the half marathon off-season program. So we are not going to have emails to go out with the schedule for that program. It's going to be in the online portal. It'll come out the same time on Friday mornings. I'll make the announcement on the Facebook page to gather questions in the same way. There is a little bit of a wrinkle, that maybe potentially an oversight on our end that we didn't think about, which is you can't see that week 1 until the end of your half marathon extension program. So little oversight on our end there. As of Monday, you'll be able to see your week. I'll talk a little bit about it, but we are going to be doing easy running start to finish. There's nothing more than an easy run. There's some optional rest days or a optional rest day in there, but that's next week. Next week is a full deload, kind of like Spring Run Challenge is doing right now, like you all have certainly done many times. We're going to pull back. We're going to start to work on mobilization routines. So we've been doing some fun mobilization routine work on the Winter Run Challenge, now the Spring Run Challenge, that we want to start incorporating into the longer endurance athletes as well. So we're going to start to introduce a little bit of that. But just know that you didn't miss the email and it didn't go to your junk mail. You have no problem receiving it. It wasn't sent and will not be for this challenge. So just FYI. So now to this week's workout. So we're going to start with the Spring Run Challenge. So run number 1, 30-minute interval run focusing on anaerobic capacity. So there's a little bit of a pullback in total volume on this. So it's short, but very sweet workout in terms of the intensity there. So the goal is to jump back in to the intensity coming off of the off week. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to go from easy only for what ends up ultimately being almost a week and a half to the toughest workout of the week. So we don't quite want that. So what we're doing is we're coming back with the intensity. We're coming in tough workout, but a little bit shorter volume. So we're trying to just limit the stress, the total kind of stress of that workout by just reducing some of the total duration of it. But there's plenty of intensity packed in that 30-minute workout. Our run number 2 is our VO2 max run. So we'll kind of call Monday, it's not really a tune-up. It's certainly a very legitimate workout, but after that kind of workout where we hope to like kind of kick the rust, this one's definitely a real deal workout. We're coming into a very, kind of challenging VO2 max workout. So over the scope of the 45 minutes in our main set in particular, we're going to be looking at 13 total minutes of time in VO2 max, which will be the most time at zone that we've had in this challenge. So very good workout. I know based on everything that's led up to these, you're absolutely ready for it and prepared for it. Make sure to utilize that Monday workout, take advantage of it. Don't feel like you need to stretch it longer or overdo anything else in between, because that Wednesday workout is sort of predicated and placed there on the fact that we had Monday is that kind of tune up to get ready for Wednesday. So that is our 45-minute VO2 max run. And our final run is our 60-minute endurance run. So 60 minutes of steady state, easy running, light, easy breezy, beautiful. As I have said many times before, always should be the most fun run of the week. Half marathon off season. So I started talking about it a little bit. Easy running in week 1, start to finish. Kind of referenced this. I think I kind of alluded to one optional day in there in the week. However, it wouldn't be unreasonable to take the entire week off or to take multiple days off in the middle of that week. It's all going to depend upon how you feel coming off of your weekend race. And this is going to go for, races at all distances for all runners. Is if you've been building up and working towards an A race or a B race, whatever it might be, that absolutely can carry over in soreness for a few days. Runners who can race really hard 5Ks can be plenty sore and need a few days off after that race. The half marathon, if it's maybe the longest you've run or the longest you've run in a long time, certainly the longest run maybe of this challenge, it's not unreasonable that you could need multiple days to a full week after that effort to really get back to where you want to start running again. So for my money and in my opinion here, if you're too sore or feeling not quite ready to come back into running this upcoming week, you can check the box as optional days off across the board of the week. No longer when we get into week 2, but for week 1, it is okay if you want a total week off after your race. You worked very hard to get here. It's not unreasonable at all. So just keep that in mind. Otherwise, the week in general, I mentioned we're going to incorporate some mobilization things that the Spring Run Challenge people have been working on. These are our 3D lunge matrices and our lunge stretch matrix and our 3D calf matrix. There are going to be links in the schedule when you show up on Monday. There actually those links are in a video that's kind of in the past featured videos, so you can check that out in advance if you're looking for it. We want to work on those mobilization routines before we get into the summer and we start to incorporate harder intervals again. The thing with endurance running, there are plenty of tough workouts, but we're working threshold, we're working sub-threshold. We're not really working a whole lot of anaerobic capacity, VO2 max. We used to use the term tempo pace for our kind of race pace on the 20-minute distance test. So we weren't worried too much about the 20-minute distance test in the half marathon program. So we want to start getting ready, like kind of redefining that, especially as we come into the middle of summer. There's not a lot of half marathons, not a lot of marathons in June and July for great reason. So we're going to be focusing on the harder and faster. So we're going to set the stage for it and build that foundation right now. And then very importantly here in this week, we want to focus on recovery. And just like this spring challenge people are doing this week, we want to make sure that your body at the end of the week is ready to move on and to handle more load. So whether that means keeping it very, very easy and short over the scope of the week, if it means taking the entire week off, the objective of your week 1 is to have a good week 2. that's it. Week 1, this kind of is not a throwaway because there's something there, but we're not really training this week. We're just trying to bring you back into it after our 15-week half marathon cycle. So once again, point of week 1 is to have a good week 2. So just think of that as you're going through your training this week. Speaking of training this week, our photo challenge is going to be for both challenges is back at it. So share a photo or story illustrating how you're getting back at it. We'll pick our favorite and send a little TW swag your way. Make sure to tag @TeamWhoopers, @TeamWhoopersRunChallenge, and use hashtag #TeamWhoopersRun to participate. So different hashtag than the half marathon program. Once again, we're bringing everybody back together. It's going to be very community oriented from here forward. So a couple of questions that have come up from the Facebook group. So first question was, from time to time, the window to absorb training has been mentioned, and I assume that the window closes perhaps at the time of taper. Can you review the window to absorb training concept when it closes relative to distance of the race, half versus full? And if there are actions to take to improve absorbing training? Thank you. So this is certainly based on something that I've mentioned often, especially in the half marathon extension program. I talk about this a lot with a taper leading into an event. And so, at least as I understand the science of it, it usually takes around 10 to 14 days to get the benefit of a particular workout. So if I do a workout today, I'm getting the benefit of it 10 to 14 days from now. And then, kind of each workout as it goes along. So when you think about a taper, they could be anywhere from, a couple days to some people for the marathon go as far as like 3 weeks out, and there are different reasons to do each. But for endurance races in the half marathon extension program we were doing, we kind of, did a kind of a 2-week mini taper. Yes, we did big mileage, we did a big long run 1 week out, but we took that unload, usually a week before that. So with the window, what we're trying to really do more than that is make sure that we don't lose fitness. So we're trying to avoid detraining in that taper time. There's kind of in conjunction with also trying to rest, trying to make sure your body can recover from little aches and pains and scratches that you've picked up along the way. So we're using that opportunity to try to just pull back on the volume a lot, pull back on the intensity a lot, making sure we're able to let your body recover a little bit, making sure we don't deload. But that's why I always specify so much, or try to kind of share that there's not at that, we'll call it 10 day to 2 week mark, the old theoretical goose is cooked, is how to describe it. It's, the fitness you have at that point is what you're going to have come race day. You're not going to be able to perform any great workouts in the final 7 days of your training and impact that race day positively. You can certainly impact it negatively by overdoing it in that final 10 days. You can wear yourself out. You can reduce your body's ability to recover. So as I mentioned before, what we're really trying to do in that kind of 2-week window leading into your race is to prevent any sort of detraining. And in terms of the time it takes per event, so marathon versus 5K, versus et cetera. The fact doesn't change that that 10 day to 2 week window, that's kind of just how long it takes to get to a workout. However, there are other factors certainly to keep in mind as well. And a lot of people want to work out a little bit longer, a little bit faster up to it because they think they feel more connected to the pace. And that's a real thing. And so what you would tend to do is actually decrease the volume, but keep the intensity there. So let's say you're a 5K runner and and really were training specifically for 5K racing and doing so at a high level. It wouldn't, if you had your A race, you would probably still kind of start a taper-ish around the same time. You wouldn't necessarily pull out all the intensity. You would drop the volume back, kind of like we're doing in the spring challenge in the first workout of this upcoming week. There's plenty of intensity there, but in a lot less volume, so you can stay connected to that pace, you can stay kind of tuned up and fresh, but without having the 45, 60-minute workout that's really going to wear you down. On the marathon, half marathon, ultra, etc., the tapers tend to be a little bit longer. And why that is actually isn't because of that 10-day to 2-week window. It tends to be because most people, by the time they get to the end of marathon training, are pretty darn tired. It is a grading process. I know most of you all have gone through at least the half marathon now, if not the full marathon. It is a grading process. It's long. There's, very common to have some sort of aches, pains, etc. when you come to those final couple weeks. So people tend to do a little bit longer taper. They're trying to really make sure they don't have the detraining effect that starts to creep in, but they also need sometimes 2-3 weeks for their body to really recover and become ready to tackle a race that's many hours long, as opposed to a 5K, which for a fast 5K runner could be anywhere. Pros are 13 minutes. Very good runners are around 20 minutes. And many other recreational 30, 45 minutes, etc. Point being, much less time than 3, 4, 5, 6 hours out over the scope of a full marathon. So you got to really rest up, make sure you're fully healthy coming into it. It's a big deal. So hopefully that helped. Our next question here was, I'm doing Brooklyn in May. So Brooklyn half marathon in May. The New York Roadrunners one, as opposed to there's a Brooklyn this weekend, which NYC runs, and doing the current spring challenge. Let me rephrase this. I'm doing the Brooklyn half marathon in May, and this current spring challenge doesn't have hill workout. Should I swap some hills in for the speed work? So, a couple of ways to go about this. My favorite way is, if you're especially training for a hilly race of any type, I like doing my long runs on very hilly routes. So you can get out on your long runs, cover your miles there. It's a big opportunity to cover a lot of elevation over the scope of all those miles. So certainly consider that. On the flip side, you absolutely could add specific hill workouts into your training. And the way that the spring marathon challenge is written in general, the spring run challenge is written in general, is I would actually you could use those anaerobic capacity workouts, our interval workouts, to do hills instead. And this actually will go for all people, whether you're racing Brooklyn or you're racing another hilly race, or you're just interested in changing the dynamic of that workout. So the anaerobic capacity intervals are relatively short intervals, tend to be at least 1-to-1 recovery ratios, if not 1-to-2 of having work to recovery on a ratio like that. So what I would plan to do is basically run those same intervals on incline. And so you can mimic that intensity for sure. You're probably gonna have to back off the pace a little bit depending upon what that incline is. But absolutely, especially you've gone through a few weeks now of doing these anaerobic capacity workouts, you know what the feel is, you kind of know what your perceived exertion is, hopefully. So take that workout and then move it to a hill. And basically you're running 1 minute or 2 minutes, very, very hard on that hill. So the energy zone target of the anaerobic capacity workout is still gonna be exactly there. Then you're just also gonna get that incline where there's gonna be a huge posterior core activation, huge power generated activity to add that incline there, and just be okay with it. The pace is not gonna mimic, the pace that you do on flat, but the intensity is there. And so for any runner out there that runs via power, via output, if it's on a treadmill, you can do this exactly. That becomes very easy. So there are shoe pods for power, like power metrics outside. There are many indoor treadmills now that have an output number where you can kind of dictate power. If you're running your anaerobic capacity interval, you can obviously get a power output number. If you want to then move it to hill, when you start running on the hill, the output is going to go up. So pace drops down to mimic that same intensity, and you should be able to do your hill workout and have an anaerobic capacity workout at the same time without having to really modify much at all. Well, friends, that is all for this week. As always, thank you so much for being here on Friday evening. So excited one more time to have us all back here together, and can't wait to see you all here next week. Have a great one.